Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Friday, September the 28th, 2012. This is our weekend video where we actually go over every chart that we track at PerfectStockAlert.com so that you guys know everything that I know moving into the week ahead. And we had a lot to cover, so let's get started. We're looking at starting off with the Australian market, the AORD. You can see in this particular case, talked about it yesterday, very bullish chart pattern. We actually said you should be looking for a buy signal here or a buy opportunity here. You'll notice again in your bullish uptrend, and you define that as being a series of higher highs and higher lows. If you get higher highs and higher lows, you are clearly in a clearly defined uptrend. As long as that holds, then you want to be asking yourself, where do I buy? Now, one of the things you always want to keep in mind is whenever you're looking at an uptrend, the 50-day moving average tends to act as support whenever that starts to form. So whenever you get a situation where you get a pullback all the way to that level, you're looking at a really quality buy opportunity. You're going to see a lot of those today, so this is why I want you to be thinking about next week. Look for a big move in the market. They'll come up with some reason for it, but it's already showing you it's preparing to form, and it's going to be a big one. So I want you guys to be looking for those buy opportunities out there. Again, this is the cup and handle chart pattern, very bullish chart pattern. We have videos on our free website at PerfectStockAlert.com teaching you all the different chart patterns that you need to know and how to trade them, so you can go there and check them out if you like. Let's move on to the next chart. Quick glance here at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I abstained from recommending a buy on this one yesterday simply because I didn't think the pullback was substantial enough to get my interest. We got a little bit lower today, so if I would have recommended buying there, I would have stopped out the next day anyway, so I didn't really miss anything. However, I wanted to point out a couple of things here. Number one, you've got the hammer candlestick formation. Number two, you're finding it on the middle Bollinger Band line. Number three, you're falling down below the 30 line, bouncing off that oversold condition to the 30 line of the ultimate oscillator. These are places where you want to be looking for buy opportunities. I could actually mark this as being if the following day gives us a higher high, even by 1 penny than we see today. If I should say that on Monday, if we get 1 penny higher than today's high, I could see why somebody would buy that immediately, even intraday. And again, you also have this previous area of resistance where you'd moved up to this point, hit it, bounced off, then broke through that, which means this resistance is now going to be acting as support. So you can see you're not very far from that. You are still a pretty good distance from this 50-day moving average. So if global markets continue to sell off, you're going to see the Dow Jones follow it, and you'll probably find support at that 50-day. So I'm kind of hesitant. I don't want to jump on this one just yet. I want to sit back and wait. If I start to get a signal to the upside on Monday or something like that, then I'll go mark it. But for now, I'm just keeping an eye on it, looking for buy opportunities in this market around the globe. That's what you should be doing. Let's look now at the French CAC 40 index. This one we talked about a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I was telling you back in this time period, I didn't really like this chart. This is the one that was kind of bothering me, and so I went and advanced my stop a lot faster on this one than I did anywhere else. We got stopped out, walked away from the trade, and the reason I didn't like it is because we didn't have any good quality pullbacks. Well, that's changing now, and that's what I want to see. I want to see good quality pullbacks here. This is going to give you an opportunity to buy after she has really taken a really good consolidation period and give us a lot more room to move to the upside, so forth and so on. You have taken out this low here, and I want to point this out. And this low is taken out, then that puts the uptrend that you had. This point here, you were doing this little number, okay? You were just making this little uptrend. Once you took this low point out, you put the uptrend in question, and that's an important thing to note. You put it in question. You don't end it. That's the another thing. Whenever you're looking at a uptrend, you have to have, for it to change, a breakdown of the trend, meaning you take out the low and then you fail at the test of the high. We've not tested the high yet. So smart trader is going to note it. Wait a minute, you still have to test the high. Even if you fail, you will eventually test it. So I want to be looking for the next little signal to get long as an opportunity to trade to the upside, where we will either still break out to new highs, or we will fail and then the trend will actually reverse, and so forth and so on. But the main thing here is whenever you're looking at a situation like you have now, where you have a low point here, a lower low here, and you start trending down, and the corresponding high points are a high point here and a higher high here, you've got conflicting signals. Conflicting signals don't tell you up or down, they tell you we're moving sideways, which you know anyway just from this little basic situation here. So what you still want to do is still be a buyer within that channel. Let me clean that up. there's going to be a channel basically formed, and what you're going to be doing is buying the low of the channel, trading to the high of the channel, and that's just basically what we're going to do. How low we're going to go right here, I couldn't really tell you. I expect we'd probably find support right here. However, if this is an overshoot to the downside, your support would be the 50-day moving average. Remember, uptrends find support at the 50-day moving average, so whenever you get close to them, that's where you want to be looking for your buy signals. Right now, in this particular candlestick formation, I don't like that candlestick formation for a buying situation. Wait for a nice hammer candlestick formation, something like that, then we can get interested. Right now, keep an eye on it, but don't buy it. Looking now at the MIB, or the Milan index, you can see here we're basically tracking the French markets here, not as bearishly. This is actually a little bit stronger chart than the France market there, so keep that in mind. You also have this bullish cross, this 50-day moving average crossing above the 200-day moving average. This is indicating a change in direction from a downtrend to an uptrend. It's never going to be early to indicate that. It'll always be later, but you can still get early indication of that as far as a bigger view goes. So, for example, a lot of times what happens, you have a downtrend that was going on like you saw back here, then you'll start to shift and turn that trend around, and that will then get a pullback down here, and you'll start flirting with testing previous lows and things like that, and then you reverse back the other direction. And people will say, well, the 50-day and the bullish cross here actually indicated that beforehand. Well, I'm just letting you know ahead of time, you shouldn't really expect a major sell-off here into a downtrend. You should be looking for a bottom. Again, note the ultimate oscillator down here at 34.27. She gets down there at that level, the 30 level, she gets extremely oversold. We've seen this before, okay? So these are areas that you want to be watching for reversals. Again, I wouldn't buy it now, but I'd be watching it next week for a reversal. The German DAX composite, this is the strongest one that we talked about, or one of the stronger ones we talked about. The FTSE is actually stronger than this one, but this is one that I would be a buyer of, and I don't expect it to get as bearish looking as you see the French markets looking and stuff of that nature. A pullback to the 50-day moving average can easily happen. However, I wouldn't expect much more than that. I wouldn't expect this low to be taken out either. You've got this little chart pattern formation here, very strong little wedge formation there, break to the upside. Now we're pulling back down to previous resistance, which was now going to be acting as support. This is a little support line that we have here. It's going to also be met by the 50-day moving average. All these things in timed with the ultimate oscillator falling down to the 34 level. Like again, you get to the 30 level and you get an extremely oversold condition. Anything can send it higher. So again, watch this next week. Don't buy now, but watch it. Gold we talked about yesterday, gold and silver actually. This one we didn't buy as well, even though we had a big move yesterday. We didn't expect to buy this because we didn't break out of the previous resistance line. So the argument could be made that you are in fact not quite ready to do so. You're still showing a lot of strength in that market. It's still it's like a sputtering engine. You're not breaking down, but you're just keeping it revved and preparing for a breakout. This one I'm expecting a breakout to the upside. Someone else may be expecting a breakout to the downside. I just don't see that. You've got the Fed going out there printing tons of money every month, which, speaking of next week, the Fed will be printing another, or dumping another $40 billion into the market. So again, I expect this to continue to move to the upside. Look for the breakout, and when you get it, buy it. The Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, first leg to the upside was here. We didn't trade this one, and now we're just kind of drifting sideways here in this little pattern. I don't like the pattern, and I'm not going to try to buy it. The reason for that is simply that you're widening out here. You've got this point up here that you came to, and then you're going like this and like this. I don't like that. That doesn't show me consolidation and strength forming. It shows me it's starting to get wobbly, and we're not done with this trade just yet. I would wait for something better to come along. The India Bombay Stock Exchange, this one you call a breakout today if you like, and you may have bought it. The problem is there's no hammer before it, and therefore it makes it difficult to set a stop loss limit on it. I'm simply going to sit back and watch this one. When we traded this to the upside in this scenario here, I got stopped out eventually at that point. We started to just watch and look for some kind of a signal that we could actually view as a chart pattern we could actually trade. And what we basically started to get, here let me clean that up, what we started to get is a little flag pattern or a pennant. You basically got this little downtrend line here, and someone could draw another little trend line right here between this low point and this low point and say, okay, that's just a pennant. This is the midway move of the first up leg here, middle move here, and then the second up leg continuing basically the same size as the first. That's what I'm basically viewing this as. Hasn't actually materialized just yet. We're just starting to see it develop, but this is something, again, all these things are telling us, the couplet handle formation that we pointed out to you on the Australia market, this one, the BSC here, again and again and again, we're showing you chart patterns that are continuation signals. They're telling you to look for the market to go higher, and that's, again, another reason to start watching next week for a reversal. Looking now at the EWJ, the Japan iShares, this one we said you had a breakout to the upside, which you did here on yesterday's market activity. You closed above this downtrend line, and then you turned around and you gapped down here below where we would have set our stop loss limit in, so you couldn't have gotten involved anyway. So there's no trade really to be made here, and whenever that happens, you just sit back and watch for what? You watch for the same thing you were watching for a moment ago. You look at this little downtrend line. If we want confirmation, a close above that would be your buy signal. If you're trying to get in and call the exact bottom, here's what you want to do. You want to look at oversold situations, say with ultimate oscillator down around the 30 line. Well, you're at 35. That's pretty good. You also want to notice that you're now trading at the 50-day moving average. That's an important development here because we were moving sideways here. And if you're moving sideways, you're going to jump above and below the 50-day moving average. Left and right, no big deal. When you shift that trend, you start making a higher series of highs, much like this, and a higher series of lows, much like this, or this. Then you're in what's known as an uptrend. If you go into an uptrend, then you start to find support at the 50-day moving average. Thus the note on the chart here. Note the relationship to the 50-day moving average. Whenever you see this, it's telling you this is where you're probably going to start finding support at. So to find a hammer candlestick formation like we saw today, it's not a big shock to me. If I were to see a little move to the upside tomorrow, on Monday, I'll get a higher high than today. Today's high was 920, so if I were to see 921 intraday, I would be a buyer there with the stop set off of this low. That's one way of trying to call the exact bottom. You would nail that. And that'd be fine, but you want confirmation by a breakout of this uptrend line right here. If you don't get that, well, then you've got a problem. But right now, we'll be looking for this to continue this consolidation period. That's all we're doing here. And again, all you're seeing right now is this is the first leg. This is consolidation, middle move. Be looking for this duplicated outside of here. So we got a big move coming. The London Financial Times Index, or known as the FTSE, this one also notice you are in a clearly defined uptrend. Okay, I'm just moving this little move right here. And then where are we at in relation to the 50-day moving average? Here's the red line. The 50-day moving average finds support when you're in uptrend. You can dip below it. That's fine. You've done it in the past. But as soon as you get a buy signal like a hammer candlestick formation, get involved because it's an overshoot to the downside here. You can clearly see that. And then you're going to, well, you're doing it right now as well. The only way this is not going to be profitable for bulls is if something's going on that we don't know about and the market is in fact peaking. If that is the case and the market is going to break down, then all of this must be erased and continue to break down, taking out this low as well. Do I expect this to happen? Not really. Once you get the ultimate oscillator down at the 30 level, you start getting into extremely oversold situations. People are left with doing nothing other than saying cover shorts or go long. Both of those put buy pressure on the market and drive you higher. Quick glance at the NASDAQ. We talked about this one yesterday, a bullish situation. We actually would be a buyer today. Stop would set off this low here. You'll notice that's in relation to the 50-day moving average where you typically find support. So again, I'm looking for support here. You also got this previous up leg here, consolidation move here. That's still in existence over here. So here and here is still that support area. That's why you're bouncing off of that point. And again, I'd be looking at this saying I'm looking for a buy opportunity again with the ultimate oscillator down below the 30 line, bouncing off that situation there. You can trade around here for a couple of days. You may see lots of different things happen here, but don't be expecting this to break down, turn into a bearish market at this point in time. You got too much money going into the market, and there's nothing really, no news has come out that's going to trump the Fed at this point in time. You need some kind of news that trumps the Fed move before you can start to see a breakdown. Now, what could do it? You could have a situation where the Fed dumps tons of money into there and our economies keep contracting. If we keep seeing signs like that, then you would see, okay, well, the economy is trumping the Fed because the Fed's dumping money, it's not doing anything. That would cause one thing. But right now, it's too early to say that's going to happen. So you need to just trade with the trend. The XOI oil index, very bullish chart formation here, and I would be looking for a buy opportunity. It came within 2 pennies of actually being stopped out of our low point here. Again, note the relation to the 50-day moving average. You get down to this point, you find support. Why? Because you're in an uptrend. As long as you're in an uptrend, use the trend, look for buy opportunities. Confirmation signal, if you don't want to try to call a bottom here, wait for a close above this trend line, this little blue line I've drawn right here. You get a close above that, be a buyer, then set a stop off the low. Looking now at the UUP, the PowerShares DB US Dollar Index Bullish Fund, you can see this one we talked about yesterday being short today. Even though you had to move to the upside, we would have shorted it with the stop set off a couple days high, 2190 area, roughly 22. What you want to do there is continue to be short there unless you get stopped out. This is a tight trading range, so it's easier to get stopped out in these situations. However, this is already closed below the, in this case, we're looking at a support line, so we're talking about shorts. And you already closed below that point. This is actually a fake move to the upside. And you should, even if you get stopped out, what you're going to start to see, watch your ultimate oscillator for a bearish divergent situation form, and that will be another sign that you're actually overshooting to the downside in the U.S. markets and you're overshooting to the upside in the U.S. dollar, and that you'll be looking again to get back short. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index, very good chart. Love the chart formation, chart pattern, basically a larger version of the Australian market that we talked about in the past. We also mentioned this when it was forming. You were basically seeing a cup with handle formation there, and this was a very bullish chart telling you that you measure the distance from this little resistance point that you have here, this little blue dotted line, measure that distance out to the low point, do the math. When you get a breakout, meaning a close above this little blue dotted line there, then you could say, okay, take the math here and add it to this point. It tells you how high you expect to go. That's what's going on there. All we're now doing is pulling back to previous resistance, which is now acting as support, and you'll find that also in line with the 50-day moving average, where you're going to find support, and that's an important factor. Again, if you wanted to be not trying to call the bottom, but just wait for it, look for a breakout, a close above this move here. Now, here's the catch. Whenever you have a pullback that's becoming more obvious and more, especially a really deep one, really tight channel, all these other signs that are telling you this is what you want to be doing, everyone gets all cautious. They say, well, I want to call the exact bottom. I want to wait for this thing to happen, or give me confirmation. Here's what's going to happen. You can bet money on this. When you get this bottom, what's actually going to happen, you're going to get a move up here one day, and then she's not going to stop. She's just going to keep rallying all day long. By the time the market closes, your close will be up here at previous highs. That's what will likely happen. And then people will be like, well, now what do I do? That's what the market's going to do to you. So remember, stop looking for exact perfect situations where you can get in. There's no risk. There's no such thing as that in trading. You want to look for a situation where you understand what's going on, the overall chart pattern. Then you want to look for your buy signals. You take it, you keep a stop on it if you're trying to call a bottom. Or as soon as you get a move that breaks out intraday, you say, hey, you know what? This has probably got legs. I'm going to buy and keep a tight stop at that point. If you wait to the close on these situations, you can get left behind. The S&P 500 Large Cap Index, much like the Dow Jones Industrial Average, I'm just not buying it right now. Not because I don't like it or whatever. I mean, you got a hammer candlestick formation formed off the middle Bollinger Band line, bouncing off the oversold condition on the ultimate oscillator below the 30 line. All that makes sense to me. But you're still a bit elevated above the 50-day moving average here. Previous support is going to be where previous resistance was at, so this is right here. You're still a little above that. Maybe I'm just being greedy, but I've already interested in a couple other charts. These two I'm going to kind of let linger there. They can either pull back and get me more interested, or I can just let them slide without me. In either event, I have other charts I'm interested in at the point. Silver, basically the same overall story as gold. In these situations you have right here, this is the line in the sand you want to be paying attention to. A breakout above this resistance point, a close above that point, would be a clearly defined buy opportunity there. And at that point, let's say you had one on Monday, let's just say for examples purposes, if you were to have one of those on Monday, you'd be a buyer there, the stop set off the low, and she starts to advance again, you start taking the stop loss limit that was started here, and you start advancing it to lock out any risk, and then start locking in gain. The Toronto Stock Exchange, this one's another one that's just trading within that channel. Bullish overall uptrend, no question about that. Finds support at the 50-day moving average. We're just continuing this little pattern. Notice that we got close to 50 here. Bounce up here, and now we're pulling back within this channel. What should I be doing? Well, I should be looking for a breakout buy opportunity closing above this downtrend line here, or finding some point of a hammer candlestick formation at trying to call a bottom or something like that. This is your previous resistance point, so that's where you're going to start finding support. That's why we bounce off of that here. And again, you'll notice preparing to see a bullish cross at the 50 over the 200. That's a bullish cross. It's a bullish buy signal, the whole thing. So again, also you'll notice the ultimate oscillator down below the 30 line. All these signs tell you the same thing. Be looking for something to buy, man. The VIX is actually looking really strong right here, and that basically is a weak signal for the S&P 500. It runs the inverse of the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 is bullish, you should see weakness in the VIX and vice versa. In this case, like I said, you're seeing bullish signals here still. You can still see a move to the upside. So I'm not interested in being an actual buyer right now at the S&P 500. That can break down, and lots of things can happen. We saw a break out of this little channel that we had here. We saw that a couple days ago, and then she just turned around and ran right back into that channel. So there's not a lot of strength on the VIX, which means there's not a lot of weakness in the S&P 500. However, I would also like to point out that what you have in this situation is these moves to the upside like this. You can keep an eye on the ultimate oscillator. She runs up here to north of the 70 line, and you get great shorting opportunities. That's what I'm watching it for next week. We can get another move, maybe early next week. We see some more selling in the markets, and then the VIX continues to move higher. Any kind of a sell signal that I can get out of that I would take it as a short opportunity, assuming that we don't take out this high. As long as if we stay within this overall larger picture downtrend, then I would be looking to short it whenever I got an opportunity to do so. Last but not least, the Wilshire 4500. This one is actually one that I mentioned yesterday for the TSP Center. Or was it TPS? Now I'm confused. Anyway, our friends over there at their website, they share our videos online on their website with their users over there, and we actually put up a chart yesterday on the Wilshire 4500. We like this chart, very bullish chart. And then somebody sent me an email. I actually got a couple of different notices that people actually appreciated that, really enjoyed it, and they would like me to continue doing that. I will add it to the website at perfectstockalert.com. It's a free website. You can go there and check it out whenever you'd like. I want to show you right quick something right over there on the website and make a little announcement here. We're trying to build a forum there full of smart investors and traders who are interested in learning technicals and fundamentals, or helping other people learn them. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, please join us there. We'd appreciate you guys' support. We've been growing substantially because you guys have been sharing our videos online, and that means a great deal to us. As you guys know, I work my tail off for you guys, and it shows me that you guys appreciate it when you guys are sharing the videos. So thank you very much for that. God bless. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Again, I will have this on the website over the weekend, and I will mark it, actually indicating that I would be a buyer here with the stop set off of this low right here for now. A very bullish chart. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.